Hi again. Welcome to my vlog episode where I'm going to talk about something that's a little bit controversial, at least for some, and it may not be your cup of tea. This may anger you, annoy you, or maybe even cause you to unsubscribe. We'll see. I'm going to be talking about masculinity and femininity and how they're quite different on purpose. I'm wearing the most feminine thing I could come up with on short notice. So this is an apron, and it was hand sewn for me by my best friend Cheryl, who decided, oh goodness, going back like 8 or 9 years, that I did not have enough frou-frou in my life. So she sent me some really frilly pink panties that they're so frilly, it looks like I'm wearing a diaper when I wear them under clothes, so I tend not to wear them. And she sent me this. This is an apron. I'm wearing it over a tank top because, yeah, it needs to go over something, well, for most occasions. And I'm wearing my extra long strand of pearls. So here's me being all ultra feminine. I wanted to talk about this because, well, it's become unpopular, and I'm not afraid of stirring up controversy a little bit for topics about which I'm quite passionate, and I'm very passionate about this particular topic. I've written about it often on Facebook, and in fact, I went through my notes and I looked up one that I wrote several years ago, and I'd like to read it only because I think I did a pretty good job of writing it. This was, what, 6 years ago, 2014? And I'll riff on it a little bit. There are some things I want to say about masculine and feminine energy at the end of this, but I don't think I can do better than I did before. So I'm going to cheat and read from here. So starts off with an entry paragraph here saying, I have strong and possibly controversial opinions about this, based on half a century of indoctrination and conditioning, and then some inquiry, some soul searching, some rewiring and unlearning. So get a cup of something. This is going to be long-ish. And it begins. Women and men are both equally valuable and worthy, and also differently unique. Masculine and feminine energy are very different, and they're meant to be complementary. We all have both energies, and the more we mature and evolve within ourselves as individuals, the more balanced we can become within ourselves. But we each chose to incarnate in this planet, in this lifetime, to embody one gender or another, and where we wanted to be on that spectrum, from very feminine to ultra masculine, somewhere in there. And that is our chosen and innate nature. Now, let me add in a parenthetical caveat here, because I am a heterosexual, born female, monogamous woman. So I'm going to see this topic from that perspective. You may not. Your mileage may vary, and you can get your own vlog post, and you can put out whatever you'd like to put out. But I'm going to be speaking on behalf of myself. I'm not pretending to be an authority on everyone. I know that people identify differently. So this is coming from my own innate identity and how I see the world, how I see this particular topic. So again, your mileage may vary. Proceed accordingly, or turn me off right now. Masculinity, which is yang energy, is, oops, wrong paragraph, hold on. Masculine yang energy is strong, initiative, driven, decisive, protective, possessive, goodness, let me try again. possessive and dominating. Let me repeat that. Masculine or yang energy is strong, initiative, driven, decisive, protective, possessive, and dominating. It wants to claim and fill. It wants to take for itself. It's self-confident. He wants to be a gentleman, a beast, and a hero. Feminine or yin energy is yielding, responsive, reflective, open, free-flowing, nurturing, creative, and supportive. It wants to be filled up. It wants to be taken. It is other confident. She wants to be a princess, a whore, and a goddess. Your mileage may vary. Now keep in mind that we all have both energies, and that's why the yin-yang symbol, if you picture that, the circle with the black and the white, each of them circling into each other, completing each other, and in the center of each, there is a bit of the other. So too, me as a female, I have an inner masculine or an animus. And a man, being masculine, would have an inner anima or an inner feminine. So it's all about the innate and natural balance that we each have within ourselves. And that's how we internalize and externalize who we are. Come back to where I was. The inner male or animus for women, the inner female or anima for men. Ironically, the more embracing a man is of his anima, the more naturally masculine he will present. And the more embracing a woman is of her animus, the more naturally feminine she will express. This is true of all of us, regardless of our sexual preferences, whether hetero or homosexual in orientation. We have been sold a truckload of lies by both patriarchy and feminism. They are a poor and counterfeit substitute for authentic masculinity and authentic femininity. And for emphasis, my clothes start coming off. See if I can manage to keep this on. Our patriarchal culture has taught men to be overly controlling, mental focusing, and repressive of all things feminine, both within the man, the internal, that is his emotions, and around the man, the external, as in women. So a man has been taught by this culture, by patriarchy, to squelch the feminine within himself. So mind over heart, he will tend to be more rational than emotional. And this is broad brush stroke, folks, broad brush. But he will tend to squelch the feminine within himself, just as the masculine energy has squelched the feminine energy in our culture. This is what patriarchy has done. A highly patriarchal man fears the feminine, for he cannot control the mysterious nature of it. Masculine energy likes to understand, control, and dominate. Feminine energy tends to be that which really can't be dominated. It's the field of creativity, the realm of chaos. It's the mystery. It's the dark side of the moon. It's that which is mysterious, and whatever is mysterious tends to be feared and repressed. Feminism is an overcompensational medium to patriarchy, which is a much needed systemic correction, and yet, while it was effective politically, it can wreak havoc relationally. So first wave and second wave feminism was all about securing the equal rights of women throughout the world. In the United States, it began in the early 20th century. And this was crucial. This was valid, required, it was necessary. We need to have equal value, but it goes so far as to negate the differences between us, or to repress the masculine sort of as an attack from having been repressed before. then it can wreak havoc with relationships. And as often is the case, when the oppressed does not get its healing and its resolution, it will become the oppressor. If a woman represses her femininity and acts like a man, or if a man denounces his masculinity and acts like a woman, then each will attract that which matches their facade. This last paragraph may help explain why so many marriages and long-term relationships fail. As we grow up, we become more authentic and we no longer fit our facade-based partner. Of course, nothing truly fails once one knows that it takes what it takes to evolve. We seem to need those starter marriages in order to work through our unresolved early childhood issues. So a starter marriage, and the trick is you can't know that you're entering a starter marriage or it won't work. So a starter marriage would be marrying or being in a long-term relationship with someone who reminds you, either consciously or subconsciously, of one or both of your parents. This triggers all of the unresolved early childhood issues that have been repressed over sometimes decades. So we don't know what those issues are, but the familiarity in this partner will act like a reparenting to bring all of that stuff right up into the present moment. And we have to either deal with it to heal or we'll run from it. That's what we do. When we're triggered, we either embrace it as an invitation for healing or we say, no, you may not make me feel that way. You are bad. You are a problem. I am leaving out of here. So the starter marriage is a chance to work through all of that unfinished business from early childhood as an adult, where you can stand up to your parents and say, no, I won't do that. No, that's not me. No, you can't make me. We get to finish that unfinished business. And the starter marriage can become the keeper marriage if the two people grow together, if they work through their stuff mutually and they mature and grow together. What often happens is that one of the two will do their work, the other will not do their work, and then the compatibility it pulls apart. It's not going to work. And the loving thing to do is to recognize that that starter marriage has expired, bless it and let it go. It served its purpose. It helped to resolve that stuff. But again, you can't know going into a starter marriage that it is a starter marriage. You have to think it's a keeper, otherwise it won't work. If you're thinking the back door is open and this is temporary, it's not going to do what it needs to do. Okay, back to where I was. If each partner discovers how they are truly wired and designed, honestly embracing and embodying their core masculine or core feminine natures to whatever degree is innate for each, then they will attract that which matches their authentic nature. And obviously, we want to be with someone who matches who we really are, rather than to be with someone who happens to fit our persona that we're projecting. Further, each human goes through 3 relational and developmental stages. Each one is valid and required. We can't bypass them. We might think of them as something we want to overcome, but in the same way that it would be ridiculous for a first grader to look down upon kindergartners as if they didn't need to go through kindergarten in order to get to first grade, so too, we can't denigrate the stages that we need to go through developmentally or relationally. So first, there's codependence. This gets a bad rap, people. It's like codependent is a bad word. I mean, it's considered an addiction, but it's a natural stage of development. An infant and a child is completely codependent upon the parent, can't survive without the parent taking care of them. But to stay in that codependent state for a lifetime would be a failure of growth, of evolution. So the codependent stage, if there's a statement that would go with a codependent relationship, it would be, I need you to make me whole. It's a survival level need. Then there is the stage of independence. And independence is often looked at as the penultimate, the highest possible state to be. And there are people who tend to be more solitary in nature, more self-protective, more self-preservationalist. For them, independence would be the highest state for them to evolve to. And if there's a statement that goes along with independence, it would be, I don't need anyone. I am whole unto myself. So it's important to go from the state of, oh, I need you to survive, to, whoa, wait, I'm whole. I don't need anyone. That is an important developmental and relational growth. But there is a different level, one that those who are committed to independence never quite get to. In fact, they may have some fear about it. And that would be interdependence. So interdependence is when two whole people come together as equal but different partners to work out the next level of growth and relating. So if there is a statement that would go along with interdependence, it would be, it is no longer enough for me to merely be whole. I want to join with another whole soul so that I can go deeper with them than I can on my own. And this is not for the faint nor the faint of heart. Faint, F-E-I-N-T, meaning prone to self-deception, and faint, F-A-I-N-T, meaning unbrave. It takes great courage to have an interdependent relationship because the risk is inordinate. And that's when you expose your soul to another human being. It's like handing them the knife and allowing them to do soul surgery on you without anesthesia, knowing that they could slay you with that same knife. But you love them and trust them enough to not harm you that way, but instead to help you look at the things that you need to look at that you might not willingly do on your own, and yet your soul is highly invested in your growth. There's a part of you that loves you so much that it will orchestrate even the most painful things in order for you to face what you need to face and to grow. What else can it do? It loves you that much. Note that the language of interdependence may sound a lot like the language of codependence, that is, I need you. The difference is that the need for codependence is a survival level need, or at least an imagined survival level need, because as adults, we don't need, in most cases, we don't need another adult to take care of us. But for children, of course, it's true. So it's a childlike perspective of a relationship. But when two whole people are in an interdependent relationship and they say wholeheartedly, I need you, it's for thrival, not for survival. So it may sound the same. The language may be the same, but the need is very different. It's a different level of need altogether. Feminism, particularly third and fourth wave feminisms, have taught women that the epitome of their own power lies in independence, that is, acting like a man. Rather than seeing it as a required stage of development, it's seen as the hallmark of womanhood. And a great number of women are experiencing loneliness when they crave a partner. Feminism has taught men to be feminine, to be overly sensitive, to deny their initiative, to be indecisive. In other words, to think like a woman. The beauty of interdependence is that both are equally valued. Both are equally necessary for the whole, but they come at the relational equation with very different energies. Yes, he will want to cherish, protect, and initiate. Yes, she will want to yield, to nurture, and to respond. Yes, he will also want to let down his guard and let her be a soft landing place. And yes, she will also want to be strong in sheltering him. Ideally, these energies will do a divine dance of reciprocity where the giving and the receiving blur, and the dynamic will be as unique as each couple. And yes, when the match is natural, organic, authentic, and honest, it will feel true indeed to say to the beloved, you complete me. It's all about context. It's not about something's missing. It's about so connecting to another human being, so merging in that yin-yang symbiosis that there's a sense of incompletion without the other being in it. Each could do fine alone. Each likely does do fine alone, because any relationship is going to have a certain amount of solitude and a certain amount of connection. But there's this joy, this homecoming, this jubilant reunion of those two coming back together in that whole, like the yin-yang symbol, where there is a sense of completion. There was a post that I read today where the challenge was to abolish the myth of needing to heal alone, that we need to be alone in order to heal. When we are initially harmed or even damaged, at least hurt in relationship, and it takes being in relationship for there to be healing. Now, I do believe that's true, but of course I believe that's true because I'm a woman, and that's a very feminine perspective of healing. When I'm hurting, when I'm under stress, what I long for is connection, both because I have a lot of feminine energy and personality typing, a lot of other factors that are unique to me, but the feminine nature itself longs for that sense of connection when under stress. So we can even go to an unhealthy degree of grabbing and clinging and saying, rescue me, help me, be my savior. Masculine energy, often when it is hurt, when it's under stress, feels overwhelmed by the sense of connection. And he needs to do the proverbial going into the cave, the man cave, so he can be alone, so he can be quiet, so that he can let his own brain start to process the things that often take just a moment for the woman to process. Now, here's one of the ways we're different as men and women. When we're in utero, we all start out as female genders. All babies begin in the human womb as a feminine zygote. And I'm trying to remember at what point it is. It's sometime fairly early, I think it's in the first trimester, where the babies that are going to be male get what is called a testosterone bath. So everything gets drenched, saturated in testosterone. It doesn't happen to the female embryos. It happens only to the male, the embryos that are going to be born male. And that testosterone bath does something very interesting to his brain. It literally cuts it in half between the right and the left hemispheres. And in doing so, it causes there to be fewer connections between the right and the left sides of the brain. Now, this is for a good reason. This is not brain damage. I don't care what anyone tells you. This is on purpose for a good reason. It's so that men can easily hyper-focus on something that they need to be hyper-vigilant about. So evolutionarily speaking, men were hunting, they were protecting, they were providing, and they needed to hone in, zero in on the target, whatever it was. The female brain did not get that testosterone bath. So the two halves of her brain are connected with a super highway of neurons. So it's like zit, 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 zit. She's got all of this connections going on between her thoughts and her feelings and her words and her processing. So for a female to process an emotional situation, it's fast. It's like she's done. She can even start putting words to it. The male brain takes more time to do that processing. He literally needs to have it quiet so that he can think through and connect through those passageways. There's nothing wrong with him. This is the way he processes. They're better at zeroing in on a particular thing one at a time. Women tend to be more multitaskers. Typically, not always, men are better at doing things like meditation because they can hone in on something. Whereas for, I can't speak for all women, but for this woman, meditating, staring at a blank wall and thinking of nothing is torture for me. Torture. I have to be doing something. I have to get the body, the earth suit, distracted so that I can meditate. Sorry, I keep losing my apron. That's probably a metaphor for something. It's like this is as domesticated as I get right here, people. Pearls on an apron. Okay, anyway, back to what I was saying. Men need to go into the cave in order to process their emotional issues. And for a woman, that can be maddening on one hand, and it can cause her to go into an almost state of panic because she's cut off from the one with whom she wants to connect while she's under stress. So what she needs to do is to embody both the masculine and the feminine for herself. She can't go to the man in the cave to get her needs for masculine attention met. She needs to dig within herself, find her own animus, and employ him so that she can do the things that she needs to do. And so importantly, that's just to get like anchored. But then in order to thrive, what she needs to do is to go into her feminine energy. So she needs to do self-care. She needs to nurture. She needs to be creative. She needs to do things that are pleasurable. Pleasure is not just an add-on. It's a very important part of life, particularly for the feminine. So she needs to get grounded in her own masculine so she feels secure in the moment. And then she needs to cultivate the feminine. Now, the interesting thing when she does that, first of all, he can focus on taking care of himself, and he's not being pulled by this need to help the female who's calling for help me, help me, help me. He wants to, okay? He's got that innate thing in him that says, I need to rescue, I need to be the hero, I need to be the fixer. That's in him. He has to shut her out so that he can take care of himself. And when she's taking care of herself, he can relax. He can work on his stuff. He can regroup. He can ground. That is so important for him. And the feminine energy that she's embodying can speak to him and call him out. It's sort of an emotional seduction of sorts. And this is when the two can come back together whole, because he took care of himself in his way. She took care of herself in her way. They're not being codependent. They're in their independent stage of the relationship. And then they're capable, again, of interdependence. And this cycle goes on and on within the very best of intimate relationships between masculine and feminine energies, whether you're male and female or both female, both male, there's going to be an interplay of masculine and feminine energies there. And so often when we're telling the man, how dare you pull away? How dare you go into your cave to take care of yourself? That's selfish. You're shutting down, you're pulling away. And she starts panicking, feeling rejection and abandonment and all of those core things. Well, you know what? She can't tell him to come fix her for her own early childhood issues. That's her responsibility. She's got to contend with that herself. He can't do it for her. And if he did, then we're back in a codependent thing. So anytime the relationship starts to get codependent, he's likely to pull away and go in the cave. She's likely to feel abandoned. She's got to do her work. He has to do his work. Once they've both done their work, once they're feeling grounded and whole again in who they are, then they're capable of the interdependent dance. So this may not, it's a working theory, let me put it that way. This may not resonate with everyone. I don't know whether there are any therapists or psychologists who are watching this who could validate what I've just described or say, nah, no such thing. For me, it's been lived out in my own life, in myself, in my relationships. It's something that I've learned. Much of what I'm talking about, I've also derived from David Deida and from John Gray, who is the author of Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. And he's taken a lot of flack for his controversial view. But I'm in good company. I do admire both men. Neither one are saints. Neither one is perfect. I don't know of a perfect human. I haven't met one yet. We're all beautiful, glorious messes. But I do derive a lot of what feels like core truth for me from what they have to say. So that's kind of what I wanted to share tonight. I just wanted to share a bit about how I personally see masculine and feminine energies at play in relationships. And maybe this will speak to someone. Maybe I'll lose half of my subscribers. I don't know. You're welcome to leave comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. I try to respond to everything that everyone says to me. It's not like I'm so popular yet. I have 100 subscribers. I lost one a couple of days ago, gained another one when my son became a subscriber, and then a couple more, at least a couple more in the last day or so. And I'm not looking for followers. I'm not looking for fans. I'm looking for human beings with whom I can interact and share ideas. So if there's something you'd like to hear me talk about, let me know, and I'll be happy to meanderingly muse about it. Thanks for listening. If you made it all the way to the end, good for you. And if you didn't, well, you're not seeing this. And remember, these are my views. Your mileage may vary. Take care. Bye-bye.